In 1994, Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, and David Jeffkin founded a studio known as DreamWorks Animation. One of their main goals was to challenge Disney at the animated box office. While some of the studio's earlier concepts appear closer to the likes of Disney and Pixar, DreamWorks has managed to establish its own style, tone, and success to develop a well-earned reputation for quality. Their films have gone to box office highs and some box office lows. But that's all a part of the remarkable journey this studio has gone through on its way to notoriety. It should be noted that their lowest grossing films are measured according to worldwide gross and are not adjusted for inflation. And not all of them are by any means among their worst work. Rather, they are films that, for one reason or another, did not manage to meet financial expectations, even if they found an audience elsewhere. Number 10, Flushed Away. Flushed Away was the last of DreamWorks' partnership with Edmond, having previously produced Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit, Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Roddy, Hugh Jackman, is a potter rat living in a high, if solitary, life as a pet in Kensington. But when a series of events led him to get flushed down the toilet, he finds himself in the London sewers, where rats, frogs, flies, and slugs live together in a metropolis made of junk. Desperate to get home, he meets tough boat driver Rita, Kate Winslet, hoping to avoid the wrath of an evil toad, Ian McKellen. It received positive reviews but underperformed at the box office, earning $178 million against a $149 million budget. Both the financial failure and turbulent production led to Edmond parting ways with DreamWorks and moving to Sony, where they would make acclaimed films such as Arthur Christmas and the Pirates Band of Misfits. Number 9, Ents. Ents is the first film that DreamWorks released, and it certainly set much of the studio's personality going forward. Neurotic Anzette meets Anne Princess Bella at a bar and becomes desperate to see her again. After a series of unfortunate circumstances, Zed and Bella are accidentally thrust out of their colony and journey to a fabled land called Insectopia despite not knowing if it even exists. Nowadays, Ents is brought up mostly in discussion due to the strong similarities between the film and a specific Pixar film that came out the same year. But while not earning as much as A Bug's Life, Ents still made a solid first impression for the studio, had somewhat better reviews. Gene Siskel, as CBS News reports, even regarded it as better than the former, and it holds the distinction of being the first non-Disney animated film to gross over $100 million worldwide. Number 8, The Boss Baby. Family Business. Said many years after the events of the first movie, Tim, James Marsden, and Toby, Alec Baldwin, Temp Holden are all grown up and living different lives. Toby is a successful CEO, while Tim is happily married with 2 daughters. But they soon discover Tim's infant daughter Tina, Amy Sedaris, is a part of Baby Corps and needs their help. An evil scientist, Jeff Goldblum, has a plan to get rid of all parents, so the brothers must be aged back down to infiltrate his secret school and stop him. The Boss Baby films have never been critical darlings among DreamWorks' other franchises, despite doing fairly well at the box office. Family Business, released during the COVID-19 pandemic, ended up grossing $146 million against an $82 million budget. Part of its lower grosses came as a result of it being released on Peacock on the same day as its theatrical run, as The Hollywood Reporter reported. Number 7, Captain Underpants. The first epic movie, based on the best-selling children's book series by Deb Pilkey, George Beard, Kevin Hart, and Harold Hutchings, Thomas Middleditch, are a pair of fun-loving prankster schoolboys who enjoy drawing comics and playing pranks on their teachers. But when their gummy principal, Mr. Crupp, Ed Helms, threatens to put the two in separate classes, they hypnotize him into thinking he is a superhero from their comics, The Amazing Captain Underpants. Captain Underpants. The first epic movie is delightfully juvenile, with an intelligent story, well-executed lowbrow humor, and an animation style that perfectly replicates the visual style of the books in a 3D environment. While it seemingly did not earn as much as other DreamWorks films, it still earned a substantial $129 million against a budget of just $38 million. It's managed to inspire a Netflix series and an upcoming spin-off based around Pilkey's other hit character, Dogman. Number 6, Spirit. Stallion of the Cimarron, the titular spirit, Matt Damon, is a wild horse roaming freely in the fields of the 19th-century American wilderness, and the film focuses on his encounters with humans. Specifically, the white soldiers who capture and attempt in vain to tame him at the Lakota Man Little Creek, Arniel Studi, who befriends him and sets him free. While Little Creek tries to get Spirit home, they are continuously pursued by a Colonel, James Cromwell, desperate to break Spirit's will and keep him as his horse. Set against the backdrop of the American wilderness domestication, Spirit, Stallion of the Saron balanced Dreamworks' sense of humor with heavy themes and utilized a turbulent time in American history. But the film underperformed at the box office, facing stiff competition from Star Wars, Attack of the Clones and Spider-Man. Despite this setback, it managed to receive an Academy Award nomination for Best Animated Feature. Number 5, Singboard, Legend of the Seven Seas, the last 2D animated film made by Dreamworks to come to theaters. Singboard, Legend of the Seven Seas takes its inspiration from the legendary stories of Singboard. In this retelling, Singboard himself, Brad Pitt, is a pirate who comes into possession of an item known as the Book of Peace. Intending to hold it for ransom for riches, he is framed for its theft by Michelle Pfeiffer, the goddess of discord, who steals the book for her own evil plans. Now, he must go on an adventure to prove his innocence to the authorities by stealing the book, risking not just his own life but also the life of his childhood friend Proteus, Joseph Fiennes. While earning more than The Road to El Dorado, Singboard was still enough of a box office failure that the studio was convinced to make 3D animated films exclusively in the future. It has since found a cult audience along with the likes of Treasure Planet, in large part due to their similar animation techniques. Number 4, The Road to El Dorado, the second 2D animated film made by Dreamworks after The Prince of Egypt. The Road to El Dorado is a fun film that, while underperforming at the time, has become one of Dreamworks' underrated gems. Scam artist Miguel, Kenneth Branagh, and Chulo, Kevin Kline, are doing their usual hustle in 1500 Spain when they win the map to the lost city of El Dorado. Stowing away on the ship of Herman Kerr's Jim Cummings, they find their way to the hidden city, only to be mistaken and forgot by the locals. When it was first released, The Road to El Dorado did not fare well with critics. It earned $76 million against a $90 million budget, seemingly dismissed as a wannabe Disney film. But while its notoriety is not quite as high as that of Shrek, in recent years, it has found a strong cult following, owing to its humor, characters, and songs composed by Elton John. Number 3, Trolls World Tour. Following the events of the first movie, Queen Poppy discovers that her tribe is only one of several troll tribes themed around music. Specifically, pop, rock, techno, funk, classical, and country. All are powered by a magic string that allows them to create music. But Queen Barb, leader of the rock trolls, decides to steal all the strings so rock music can take over. Poppy must unite the other kingdoms to stop her, only to realize her own shortcomings as queen. Although Trolls World Tour did not earn nearly as much as the other films in the trilogy, what initially killed its theatrical run also helped its success. As movie theater shutdowns during the COVID-19 pandemic grew ever-present before its planned release date of the 10th of April 2020, Dreamworks' parent company, Universal, chose to make the film available for digital rental on the same day. While this move caused controversy among theater owners, it still allowed the film to be seen by most families around the world. Number 2, Ruby Omen Teenage Raken, a combination of high school drama and epic seafaring adventure. Ruby Omen Teenage Raken focuses on the titular 16-year-old Ruby Omen, Lana Condor. She is trying to navigate her life as a teenage girl when she discovers she is descended from a long line of Rakens, giant sea creatures that protect the world from all manner of threats. While developing her new abilities, she begins to suspect that popular girl Chelsea, Annie Murphy, is a mermaid whom her grandmama, Jane Fonda, regards as the most dangerous, evil, and just plain narcissistic of all creatures. Despite its intriguing premise, the film underperformed for several reasons, as Screen Rant discussed, including being an original film in an IP-dominated season and lack of marketing. While Ruby Omen did not do well in theaters, grossing $46 million against a $70 million budget, it found an audience when it became the most watched movie on Netflix upon its launch in February 2024, as MovieWeb reported. Number 1 and lastly, Spirit Untamed. While Spirit had left theaters for 19 years, suddenly, he returned in Dreamworks' worst-performing film to date. However, it should be noted that Spirit Untamed is not a direct sequel to the original, but rather a computer-animated adaptation of the first few episodes of the Netflix series Spirit. Riding free. Not long after the death of her mother, Lucky Prescott, Isabel immersed, moves to the small town of Miradoro. She soon meets Spirit, a wild horse who rides in the plains outside the town and shares her lack of restraint. But when Spirit gets captured by wranglers, Lucky must save him while discovering a new connection to her dead mother. A combination of mediocre reviews, a movie-going audience unfamiliar with the original series, and the original film not having as much of a cult fan base compared to DreamWorks' other 2D output led to the film's poor box office. It grossed $44 million on a $30 million budget, enough to get its budget back, but not nearly enough to break even. Well, that'll do for this video, and this will understand everyone about these lowest grossing DreamWorks movies. Now, we'll end this video with such a huge disappointment to the DreamWorks out there.